Hey homegirls, welcome back to The Perfect Pursuit. Today we're doing something a little bit different, something I haven't really done on here. Not that I haven't talked about my relationship with God, but I kind of just want to do like a previous month recap on things that I feel like God is teaching me. I'm cracking them because my dogs are fighting right now. We definitely have a new normal in this house, so my videos may be a little bit noisy. I got baby girl on my lap right now, laying down on her stomach, but anyway, we have a new normal. But I just want to come on here to talk a little bit about a couple things that I feel like God has been teaching me, things that I've struggled with even over this past month, and just trying to find a space to have some like transparency and some authenticity on my channel. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. So go ahead and tune into the video. Anyway, we're back. And I'm super excited. So just recapping the month of August, like what has been happening for me in my physical space, and then kind of diving in a little bit spiritually. As I told you guys, I started residency July 1st. So the month of July I was on maternity leave, and then the month of August I was on parenting electives, an elective that's virtual. You get different assignments and things that you do in regards to just like being a parent and things like that. So I've been doing that. So I've had the opportunity to still be at home with baby girl for the month of August, and now that it's September, today's Labor Day. This is the month I'll actually be diving into my first rotation for residency. I'll be starting on ambulatory, and then I have a couple call shifts on newborn. I had my first one yesterday, and then I have two this upcoming weekend. So actually I'm starting back in kind of like an 11-day stretch of work. Things may be more difficult at some point, but anyway, I'm excited to really dive into residency, to really begin to just master some things, grow more comfortable in some things. So one of the things that I had been struggling with a bit spiritually, like moving to a new place, right? So now we're in Tampa, and we've transitioned churches. So we've been with the same church since both of us were baptized in 2015. We were baptized part of the same ministry, but in different places. So then when we went to Michigan for medical school and moved around a bit there, we've kind of been in the same group of churches. So similarly, moving to Tampa, we've transitioned to the ministry here. Obviously, with like transition to a new church, there's a lot of things that you're learning. You're trying to understand the dynamic, the culture of the space that you're living, the culture of the church that you're a part of, ways that you can get involved, how healthy the spiritual space is. All of these things I think are really healthy when it just comes to like scouting out any body of Christ to be a part of. A really big thing, especially in this season of our lives, because we don't have family who live here. We have each other and baby girl, but we don't have like any of our immediate family here. Was really just being able to cultivate really authentic relationships with other couples, and ultimately just other couples that are kind of in the same life space as us. One of the things that I felt like I was really struggling with was like I felt because I'm new here, like when you're new to a space, you kind of feel like a sense of entitlement, right? Like to have this sense of being welcomed into the space. And so I'm just like, I don't feel like I'm being like sought after, but I think that I was allowing people's lack of pursuit of us as a couple, as new parents and all of those different things, kind of overshadow some things that I did experience when I moved here. This past month, we had the opportunity to have a game night. So we had a couple over, not from our church, but one of the couples that I know through my program, and they're super dope. So we had a really good time hanging out with them, and my best friend was in town as well. And then also we ended up having a couple over for dinner from our church, and that was really cool. This past month, I started a devotional called Holy Hustle. I didn't want what it is that I do to define everything that I am. And also I wanted to make sure that I was focusing on the true mission, right? Like the actual mission and my actual purpose, which is how can I be a light to people in every space that I'm going into, and sharing my faith and who God is, and really staying true to that. That devotional kind of touches a little bit on like balancing like having appropriate work, like working hard and that being a blessing from God, but also who you're working for, like work like you're working for God and not man. But also appreciating your rest at the end of those things, and knowing the difference between rest and laziness. One thing that I had read from Holy Hustle, there's a quote, and it says, when we stop striving and start serving, we begin to trust God to harvest what we're faithfully planting. Like instead of striving for, right, for this perfect image that I have in my mind for what this transition should look like into a new spiritual space, what does it look like to start serving? And it's really funny too, because that's the advice that a lot of people start giving. Be the example that you want to see, or, you know, something along those lines. I'm so bad at like quotes like that, but basically, like, to start serving, like to do what it is that you want for other people to give to you. Ultimately, that's serving, like, and showing up to church with like, how can I serve here? So my biggest goal is to have, right, like we were talking about, having authentic relationships with people and do life with people in the body. For me, that's just my focus moving forward. Me and my husband have kind of committed ourselves to like, all right, once a month we're gonna have somebody over and give to them, and not focus on what other people have to or need to or want to or should be given to us. Other things that I feel like learning that I feel like I've been learning is specific to transition to residency. So because I had started that Bible plan, because I'm behind on it, but I started it in August, and it's like maybe like 10 days or something, but anywho, it kind of pushed me one of my favorite verses in Colossians 3. But whatever you do, work at it with all your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters, since you know that you will receive an inheritance from the Lord as a reward. It is the Lord Christ you are serving. In regards to residency, right, like I'm transitioning in a very awkward space. I started residency on maternity leave, so I didn't start with the rest of my peers. There's insecurities around like, all right, like how good am I about to be? Even though I've had a couple shifts and I'm like, man, this feels good. But again, just the focus being on like the why behind everything that I'm doing, right? All of the things that we want to do, we want to do them well. But the why we want to do them well actually matters. So particularly in medicine, when it comes to like us studying and wanting to know stuff, oftentimes I would find myself in a space like wanting to know things so that if the people around me are asking me questions, then I know them, or I want to know things because if you're getting pimped on rounds, then you don't look silly or you don't look foolish, whatever, right? But knowing things and being knowledgeable it is in whatever work that you do is really just to the benefit of God, because you get to serve the people that He's called you to serve, and you get to do a really good job at that. So for me, what that looks like is as I'm going into seeing my patients and things like that, I want to be knowledgeable because I want to make sure that I'm not missing anything. I'm not missing a diagnosis. I'm not missing something on their physical exams, because I want to make sure that they're healthy. And if they come to me sick, I want to make sure that they're healed, because ultimately God is able to get the glory through me serving them. So it's not me, it's all God. When I rely on myself, I start feeling less and less capable. This feels impossible. This is a big learning curve. And all of those things are true when I'm only relying on myself. But when I'm relying on God, who actually brought me to this space, I'm always reassured that I'm gonna do well, that I'm gonna do great, that I'm gonna be a great physician because God is with me. I'm sharing my knowledge because I get to do good work for what God has called me to, and that's it. If I have a love-hate relationship with social media, I may even talked about that in a recent video, but I think that the big thing for me with social media is finding this balance. And I've had to be very particular about the brands and things that I've worked with. For one, I don't want to work with particular companies if they don't align with my values. I won't work or promote a item or a thing or whatever it is if it doesn't fit who I am. I try to be as transparent about my life and authentic about my life with the people that I interact with on a day-to-day basis. Social media doesn't make that easy. Like with Instagram, it's fun because I get to be creative and I actually enjoy like creating this level of content. But because it's content, it's all curated in a way where I don't feel like I get to share like my regular thoughts like I'm doing right now. So the reason why I've even tapped back into my YouTube space is because I feel like I have the space to just be a little bit more authentic and just kind of sit here and chat and say, hey, this is where I'm at. I feel oftentimes really back and forth with the way in which I share it because I need God to be the focus of my space. If I can use those things to hook, line, and sinker and reel somebody in and be like, hey, yeah, cool, boom, glitz and glam, yeah, but God is at the center of all of this, And so maneuvering that has always been really challenging. But it's interesting because oftentimes when I am sharing content, when it just comes to like Bible verses or things like that, any spiritually related thing, those things are not going to necessarily get the views in which some of the other content and things get. I'm still just trying to navigate to see what it looks like, or even how comfortable I feel with dabbling into some of the other things. I'm like, yeah, I'm sharing my life, but I need y'all to get this content and recognize and understand that God is at the center of all of this. But I'm finding that YouTube is probably going to be my primary space to give like the authenticity I want to give. When people say like, you make it look easy, and I'm like, there's something that's missing from my content where I'm like, I don't want to make things look hard, but I want things to be real. I haven't figured that out, but I've really just been trying to, and I feel like me and God kind of, you know, go through this on a regular, month to month. So I know I'm saying it's an August recap, but I consistently struggle in this space with my social media. But then also knowing, the biggest thing is like knowing that like these things in my day-to-day life are able to operate because of who God is and his space, his place in my life. I always feel like I could be doing a better job in that area. I just don't know what that looks like just yet. So we're just figuring it out. We're figuring it out. I kind of feel like I bulk my content to like, okay, here's the content where I'm working with brands, and here's the content where I'm talking about my spiritual life and all of that. And even with my social media, my content on here on YouTube, I'm just like, what does that look like to kind of mesh those things together? I'll probably be coming a lot more like this more often, or even just where I talked a bit in my other video about wanting to vlog more, because I really want to be able to like show the day-to-day. Like it's not easy. Like, I mean, my goodness, baby girl literally was just crying her tail off right before this video started. And even right now, like, my household sounds quiet, but my household ain't quiet. Oftentimes, if my husband's home, and he's not home right now, when he's home, he'll like take the boys upstairs or take baby girl upstairs. But like in my real day-to-day life, like this is how I'm functioning. I want to show more of that, and I'm just trying to explore that with God. Like, what does it look like for him to be at the center of even that content, to show like, man, like, yeah, no, I make it look easy. What does that mean? I don't want to make it look easy, because it's not easy. Like, this walk is not easy, and I want to continue to be real about like being a Christian is not an easy walk, and that is not even what scripture promises us as far as like what this walk looks like. Like, we're genuinely promised that we're going to experience trials, and we're also promised at the end of that God is going to bring us through them. Going into September though, just kind of want to wrap it all up. Since I talked about my social media, I don't have a clear-cut wrap on what that looks like as of yet, so we'll see what that looks like at the end of September. Maybe things look a bit different. Spiritually, for me, I want to make sure that I am continuing to grow in my intimacy and my relationship with God. Anytime I transition into a space where I'm working a lot, oftentimes it's very easy for me to put God on the back burner. And in my mind, I don't think that I'm doing it, but I almost rationalize it by saying, well, God brought me in this space. He wants me to do good work, so I got to be working hard. So sometimes I won't be able to connect with him, but that's not real. I feel like I'm also transitioning to a space of what it looks like to not be a super everything. I know that our society prides being super everything, super mommy, super this, super that. And I don't want to be a super everything. I want to be super dependent on God. That's what I want to be in this season. So if things look easy, it's because God has truly spared me. Or even spare some of y'all, because if I made it, maybe if I did share a little bit too much of what it looked like, it might discourage somebody. Even in this video, I pray that someone, even one person, feels connected to it in some way, feels like they can tap back into their relationship with God. Or if you haven't talked to him in a minute, you know, tune in, tap in, pray to him. It's never too late. Or even if you are in a good space with God, like, I really just want to bring people to a space of being able to what it looks like, being able to know what it looks like to be able to tap into like full authenticity and transparency. Baby girl is wiggling and moving right now. But hopefully you guys are able to really gain something from it when it comes to your own spiritual walk with God. Peace and blessings to y'all. I love y'all so much. As always, like and comment down below if you have something that you want to share, or if you feel like there's anything that God has been teaching you, or even if it's feeling like you think that you need prayer for anything, or something that someone else can benefit from. I will see y'all next time for our next video. Bye.